We begin with breaking news tonight. A Monroe County deputy assigned to desk duty now in connection with a crash that killed a 17-year-old boy.
Sure, the concerned community member just called the sheriff's office and spoke to his administrative assistant and said that they thought they saw a deputy leaving the accident scene and they just didn't think it was right and it just didn't look right to them.
Well, that phone call from that concerned member of the community on Monday led the sheriff's office to launch an investigation and to ask the Attorney General's office to conduct its own probe. Good evening. I'm Doug Embledge.
And I'm Matt Malloy. We learned earlier this week that East Rochester Police are investigating a crash that happened in the early hours of Saturday morning. A teen from Honeoye Falls was killed. Now there are questions about why a sheriff's deputy may have been at the scene of that crash and left before police arrived.
Yeah, still a lot we don't know about how this all fits together. 13 Wham's Carla Rogner, though, did speak with the undersheriff tonight, and she's in the newsroom with more.
Yeah, Matt and Doug, the sheriff's office says this is just the beginning of its investigation, and there's a lot more to look at to figure out what exactly happened last weekend. The East Rochester Police Department responded to the crash just after midnight on Saturday, and they found the teen dead. Police say the victim had been speeding, lost control, and crashed into a tree. Under Sheriff Corey Brown says the sheriff's office today found video that places the deputy near the scene at the time of the crash.
So all we know now is the vehicle that we see in the video is the vehicle that was involved in the fatal crash, and 10 seconds later is the deputy vehicle with his lights on. That's all we know. So the good part about putting these things out early is that we're letting the community know exactly what we're doing and what we see. The bad part is we really have no information. So all these questions are great questions and things that we want to get to the bottom of. We just don't have those answers yet.
And among those unanswered questions, was the deputy pursuing the teen's car, and if so, why? The undersheriff says the next step is to look for more security footage from nearby homes and businesses and talk to witnesses. The deputy has not been identified and will remain on desk duty as the sheriff's office and Attorney General's office investigates.
We're also learning some new details about a car crash on Bluff Drive in East Rochester this past weekend that killed a 17-year-old from Honeoye Falls.
The victim, Clark Palin, was a student at the Aquinas Institute, and now the sheriff's office is investigating why a deputy was spotted in the area near the time of that crash.
And today, Jackie Napier reached out to the sheriff's office about the status of that investigation. Jackie?
A spokesperson from the sheriff's office says they're in the early stages of this investigation and could only confirm a deputy was in the area at the time of the crash. I spoke to a neighbor today about what she saw that night.
There was a really loud screech.
Mallory Fast was sitting in her home on Garfield Avenue near Bluff Drive around midnight Saturday when she heard a loud screech and crash. Fast says it felt like something hit her house, but when she looked outside, she saw a car in her neighbor's yard.
There was a tire across the yard on the other side of the house. There was debris all in the driveway, and then either the transmission or engine, I'm not a car person, I don't know, that was on fire like 2 feet from the side of her house.
The 17-year-old driver, Clark Palin, died at the scene. East Rochester police say it appears he lost control while driving at a high rate of speed.
It definitely makes me not really want to take this street.
The speed limit on Bluff Drive is 30 miles per hour, but nearby business owner Scott Petty says he frequently sees drivers speeding.
It's obviously very tragic, but as fast as people come down this road, it's no surprise.
The East Rochester Police Department is still waiting for data that will show the vehicle's speed at the time of the crash.
Now at 5:30, new developments on Rochester's embattled Police Accountability Board. This is staff members enhance their call to form a union.
Plus, lower taxes, more money for police. We break down Monroe County's proposed budget.
And how Oak Hill is already getting into the swing of things, months ahead of the PGA. Staff members from the PAB calling on the city to recognize their union. Good afternoon, I'm Matt Malloy.
And I'm Doug Embledge. After declaring their intent to unionize due to hostile and toxic work conditions, they say, the staff members are calling for the recognition of their union.
13 Wham's Dalton Williams spoke with staff members from the PAB and shares what those conditions are like, as well as what they hope for from this union. Dalton, good evening.
Good evening. The employees say they have been mistreated by PAB board members and management after attempting to unionize. Now they're hoping the city can help restore some form of order back to the organization. A handful of PAB staff members took to the steps of City Hall Thursday, calling for Rochester's mayor and city council president to publicly recognize and support their labor union. They say after announcing their intentions to unionize 3 weeks ago, working conditions have worsened, resulting in intimidation and retaliation from PAB board members and management.
A lot of people don't look forward to coming in anymore because they sit with nothing to do. I'm one of those people, unfortunately, most of the time. I'm responsible for writing minutes. I used to be responsible for so much more, but I am left unassigned most of my day, and it's terrible.
Brandy Cooper claims she was wrongfully terminated by management for speaking on behalf of union efforts. She says this labor union would bring additional oversight to the PAB so it would be able to operate as intended.
We do feel like the oversight that is needed. Currently, right now, the board holds the oversight for our executive director, which is why there's no impunity. He just feels the ability to do what he wants to do, along with other senior management with no pushback.
City Council member Stanley Martin says she supports the union.
Unions are meant to protect workers, bring stability to organizations. In an organization that is ran by management that essentially is causing harm consistently, intimidating staff, staff not receiving adequate HR support, to me, this is the only way to save the institution.
Both Pacheco, Walker, and Cooper say the union is unrelated to the current independent investigation into the PAB. We learned today that findings from that investigation will be made public next week.